Welcome back to NurseEdScholar. So let me ask you a question. If a person is short of breath, right, what should you do? Most nursing students immediately want to grab for that oxygen, right? But here's the problem. On the NCLEX and in real, patient scenarios, more oxygen is not always the best or the safest answer. In fact, some patients, if you give them too much oxygen, it's actually going to make their condition worse. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you, how oxygen therapy is actually tested on the NCLEX, why COPD patients require careful oxygen titration, and how to recognize when oxygen helps versus when it harms your patient. And most importantly, you're going to learn, a simple framework that hopefully will help you decide how much oxygen to give and when to escalate respiratory support. So, before we start talking about oxygen devices, right? We need to understand why oxygen therapy, what does it actually treat? Oxygen therapy does one primary thing. It improves oxygenation. Now what does oxygenation mean? Oxygenation means the ability for the lungs to move oxygen into the bloodstream so it can reach the tissues. And that's why you monitor the SpO2 levels, right? So normal oxygenation levels, typically 95 to 100%. And when oxygen saturation begins to drop below normal levels, the body starts to experience hypoxia, which means the tissues aren't receiving enough oxygen. And you're going to have to look for these things in your patient. So what are, causes of hypoxia? So that could be pneumonia, that can be pulmonary edema, atelectasis, ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, severe asthma, and respiratory failure. Because in these situations, oxygen therapy is appropriate and definitely necessary. But here's the important part. Oxygen therapy doesn't treat ventilation problems. Remember, oxygenation moves oxygen into the bloodstream to go into the tissues. Ventilation, though, refers to the body's ability to remove carbon dioxide. And remember, too much carbon dioxide can cause respiratory acidosis. Remember, carbon dioxide in water creates carbonic acid, and that's where that respiratory acidosis comes from. And this distinction is very important when we talk about your COPD patients. Now, one of the biggest mistakes students make is thinking that oxygen is either on or off. And in reality, oxygen is titrated, meaning, you as the nurse, you're going to adjust the oxygen based on the patient's needs. So titration means gradually increasing or decreasing oxygen delivery in order to maintain a safe oxygen saturation level. And for most patients, the target oxygenation level is 94 to 98%. But for COPD patients, the target is typically lower. COPD patients are often titrated to an 88 to 92 oxygen saturation. This is because COPD patients frequently retain carbon dioxide. And when carbon dioxide is, and when, I'm sorry, and when oxygen is given too aggressively, it can suppress the respiratory drive. Now, remember in the hypoxic drive video, you know, when you have a COPD patient and you would think, oh, I have to control the CO2 levels, but it's really, you don't want to give them too much oxygen because with a COPD patient, if you give them too much oxygen, then they're going to start breathing less because they have that oxygen. And that actually can lead to worsening carbon dioxide retention because as they reduce their breathing, they're going to retain carbon dioxide. Okay. And this is why oxygen therapy must be carefully controlled. Now, the NCLEX often tests oxygen therapy through device escalation. Okay. And what this means is, you need to understand which device provides more oxygen support. And so a simplified escalation would look like, first the patient will get a nasal cannula. Then they're going to get a simple mask. Then they're going to get a Venturi mask. So your mask will come next, and your non-rebreather mask. Then it'll escalate to a BiPAP or a CPAP. And then last resort would be mechanical ventilation. So let's briefly review these. When a patient, when you put a nasal cannula on a patient, you can deliver 1 to 6 liters of oxygen a minute. And that's approximately 24 to 44% oxygen. And this is, commonly used for patients with mild hypoxia. Then you'll move up to a face mask, which delivers 6 to 10 liters of oxygen per minute and provides approximately 40 to 60% oxygen. And this is used for patients who need moderate oxygen support. Then you'll move to your Venturi mask. Now, this mask actually allows you to precisely control oxygen. It's 24 to 55% oxygen. And a Venturi mask is typically common with COPD patients. It allows the nurses to carefully titrate the oxygen delivery without overwhelming that respiratory drive that we talked about before. Then the next would be your non-breather mask. Now, this can deliver up to 90 to 100% oxygen, and this is used for severe hypoxia or respiratory distress. It's often the highest level of oxygen support that can be given before intubation. Okay. Now, you do have your BiPAP or your CPAP, and that's ventilation support without using an invasive artificial airway. Remember, with a BiPAP and a CPAP, it forces oxygen in the lungs, okay? And last resort would be mechanical ventilation, which provides support using an actual invasive airway. And when you hear people, that person got intubated, that would be for a mechanical ventilation. Okay, so the oxygen trap. Here's where NCLEX questions become kind of tricky. Students, they often choose high oxygen immediately, even when the patient doesn't need it. But the NCLEX wants you to apply, clinical reasoning, and that's what this is all about. Clinical reasoning, clinical judgment. You need to ask yourself, is this patient experiencing oxygen failure or is this a ventilation failure? For example, you have a COPD patient with an oxygen saturation of 85, and they're going to need oxygen support immediately because remember, pneumonia is an oxygenation problem. But with your COPD patient with an oxygen saturation of 90%, they may already be within their target range. And given excess oxygen in that case can lead to CO2 retention and respiratory decline, which we recently just talked about. So let's kind of walk through. You have a patient with COPD, and they arrive to the emergency department. They have a respiratory rate of 24, an oxygen saturation of 90%. They have some mild shortness of breath. They're alert and oriented. As a nurse, what do you think you should do first? Well, a lot of times, students are going to select the non-rebreather mask. They're like, oh, 90%. But that's really too aggressive for a COPD patient. So the safest would be low flow oxygen via nasal cannula while monitoring that oxygen saturation because 90% actually may be that baseline for that patient. Okay, so you're going to have to really look at your doctor's orders. And this will allow the nurse to carefully titrate the oxygen while observing for worsening respiratory status. And remember, for a COPD patient, if you give them too much oxygen, they're going to slow down their breathing, which is going to increase carbon dioxide retention. And so that's why they're saying, you got to observe them. Observing, we talk about evaluating after we start a therapy, and this is one of those things. Now, how are you going to know that a patient, oxygen therapy is failing? Okay, so another thing on the NCLEX is recognizing when oxygenation is not enough. So the warning signs that you'll look for if the oxygen therapy is really failing your patient, it's just not working, right? A falling oxygen saturation despite oxygen therapy, increased respiratory rate, use of accessory muscles, start having that altered mental status and severe fatigue. Now, these findings suggest that a patient may be progressing towards respiratory failure. And when this occurs, escalation, is necessary and may include that non-rebreather mask that's giving 90 to almost 100%, that BiPAP that's forcing that oxygen into the lungs, or that mechanical ventilation where that patient is going to have to be intubated. Now let's look at a framework. We talked about a framework. So when you see oxygen therapy questions on the NCLEX, you really need to ask yourself some questions. Number one, is the patient experiencing hypoxia, right? And what signs and symptoms are you seeing? Remember, restlessness, agitation, altered mental status, but anxiety, restlessness. So you're gonna say, okay, well, if this patient is having hypoxia, how am I gonna prove it? You're gonna check an O2 set. And then third, what's the least aggressive intervention that will improve oxygenation? Because you don't want to give them too much, right? And the NCLEX frequently rewards answers that provide safe escalation rather than jumping immediately to a more extreme treatment. Now let's do a mini NCLEX challenge, okay? Now you have a patient with pneumonia and they have the following assessment: respiratory rate 32, oxygen saturation 84%. They're restless. They're using accessory muscles. What's the priority for this patient? Priority. And that correct answer is going to be, I need some high flow oxygen. That oxygen saturation is 84%. Remember, pneumonia is an oxygenation problem. Okay. So they're going to need that high flow oxygen with that non rebreather mask. Why? Because this patient, like I said, is showing severe signs of hypoxia and rapid oxygenation delivery is necessary. Pneumonia is an oxygenation problem. Now, oxygen therapy is not simply about giving oxygen. It's about matching the oxygen support to the patient's physiology. You want to make sure that you give the right amount of oxygen depending on your patient's condition. You want to remember oxygen treats hypoxia. COPD patients require titration of oxygen very carefully. And when oxygen therapy fails, respiratory support must escalate quickly up to mechanical ventilation, where your patient is intubated. And really, that's it. If this lesson helps you, kind of understand oxygen therapy more clearly, please, like this video, subscribe to NurseEdScholar. This channel, is designed to help nursing students think through clinical problems the way the NCLEX expects. So, if you like a more structured practice, you can download the clinical judgment model and prioritization workbook, on nurseedscholar.com. The link will be below. And also with every series, I create, a workbook to cover the topics that cause, major confusion with patients. I mean, students, I'm sorry. So the next video is going to be on ventilatory failure and oxygenation failure. Remember, when you have a ventilation problem, it's typically COPD, and an oxygenation problem is typically pneumonia. And understanding the difference between ventilatory failure and oxygenation failure will help you recognize early respiratory deterioration before it becomes life-threatening. So I'll see you in the next lesson, and happy studying. I'm Nurse Ed Scholar.